Hi everyone. My name is Jerry Wise, and thank you for joining me. I want to talk about narcissistic parents. What happens when you abandon them? What are some of the things that go on when that happens? Or at least also when they perceive you have abandoned them. And of course, any kind of maturity, differentiation growing up with narcissistic parents will be perceived by them as abandonment. One thing that happens is often rage and retaliation. Narcissistic parents feel betrayed and enraged when they sense abandonment. They may lash out, either overtly through angry outbursts or covertly through passive aggressive tactics. They may attempt to ruin your reputation with the family or social circle, or they could escalate tensions by bringing up past grievances. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? They will begin to play the victim. The narcissistic parent will likely position themselves as the victim of your cruelty or selfishness. They'll emphasize how much they've done for you, how ungrateful you are, how they are now suffering because of your abandonment. This is often done to gather sympathy and support from others, painting you as the villain. What also happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? You may get hoovering, like the vacuum cleaner company, Hoover. Narcissistic parents may attempt to pull you back into their control by love bombing or offering apologies and gifts. They might promise to change, show sudden affection, or even make a show of remorse. However, these gestures are usually manipulative and aimed at regaining control, not genuine change. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? They'll begin a smear campaign. They may start a smear campaign spreading lies and exaggerated truths about you to your family members, friends, and even your own children. This can include telling others that you are unstable, ungrateful, or cruel, painting a picture of you as the problem while they remain the victim. The goal is to isolate you and turn others against you, making you feel guilty and ostracized and punished for abandoning them. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? Guilt tripping. Narcissistic parents will often use guilt to try and manipulate you into reconnecting. They may say things like, "I raised you and this is how you repay me?" Or imply that your abandonment is causing them emotional or even physical harm. They might even use health scares, financial woes, or loneliness to make you feel responsible for their well-being. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? You get rejection and disownment. In response to abandonment, narcissistic parents may turn the tables and claim they are the ones disowning or rejecting you. They may say things like, "You're dead to me. I no longer consider you my child," as a form of emotional punishment. The goal is to hurt you deeply and to regain a sense of control by making it appear as though they are choosing to end the relationship, not you. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? Emotional blackmail. Narcissistic parents often use emotional blackmail, manipulating your feelings of love, loyalty, or duty to force compliance. They might say things like, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't abandon me," or imply that your distance is causing irreparable harm to the family. This tactic is designed to make you feel as though your actions are destroying your family or hurting your parents beyond repair, while also re-editing and forgetting about all of the pain and problems they have caused to hurt the family. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? You may get a sudden rash of kindness or apology. Sometimes narcissistic parents will suddenly shift gears and become overly kind, or overly heartfelt apologies will come. But this is usually short lived. They may say things like, "I realize I wasn't the best parent," or "I'm sorry I hurt you." This is often a last-ditch effort to get you back into their control and is rarely followed by real change in behavior. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? A rewriting of history. Narcissistic parents may start to rewrite the narrative of your relationship in their favor. They may tell others or even convince themselves that they were always loving and supportive while you were the problematic one. They might reinterpret past events to paint themselves in a positive light and you in a negative one, attempting to gaslight you and others into believing their version of events. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? Financial manipulation. If they have financial leverage over you, such as inheritance, loans, or shared finances, they may use this as a means of control. They may threaten to cut you out of the will, stop financial support, or sabotage your financial standing as a punishment for abandoning them. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? Emotional breakdown. Some narcissistic parents may have an emotional breakdown, displaying intense sadness, depression, or hopelessness to manipulate you back. They may cry, beg, or act helpless, making it difficult for you to stay away because of the guilt that you feel for their suffering. This can create an emotional tug of war, where you feel obligated to return to protect their emotional state. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? Total denial. Some narcissistic parents will pretend the abandonment never happened or act as if nothing has changed. They may ignore the distancing, refuse to acknowledge your boundaries, and continue behaving as if everything is normal. This can be a way of undermining your attempt to assert yourself, forcing you to continually reinforce your boundaries. What happens when you abandon narcissistic parents? Reaching out to others. They may enlist other family members or friends to convince you to reconnect, often turning them into flying monkeys, people who do the narcissist's bidding. They have others contact you, often with messages about how hurt and devastated they are, trying to convince you to come back and make amends. These intermediaries might guilt trip you into reconsidering your decision. I know in the past, in working with many clients over 45 years, I've found where they have involved pastors, churches, sponsors in AA or NA. They've involved friends. They've involved numerous therapists. They may reach out every way they can to try to get you to reconsider your decision. And of course, when they go to the pastor, they will explain everything to him about how they're so right and you've been so wrong. And then again, they want you to reconsider your decision. So what are some self-differentiation tips? Expect resistance and pushback and prepare for it. Prepare for the pushback. You're going to get resistance. All of these things I've mentioned are types of resistances. Second, don't try to change their reaction to your changes and growth. Don't try to change their reactions. They have a right to have these reactions. They have a right to do whatever they want. They even have a right to go out and tell people how bad you are and good they are. I didn't say it was morally right. I didn't say it was ethically right. I didn't say it was spiritually right. But there's no law that says they can't do it. They are adults. people who are adults, children do as well, but people who are adults have a right to lie. You can lie to a court if you want to. Now, there may be consequences, but we all have a right to lie, and many people will do that. And they will try to convince others through their lies. So don't try to change their reactions. You'll only get caught up in the stressful, traumatic mess of that. And stay out of their emotional inner dialogue and mental dialogue. Thirdly, ask yourself, what would you think, feel, and do if you no longer abandoned yourself? And I think that's very important when we talk about abandonment, because oftentimes people feel abandoned, not so much because other people have abandoned them, though they may have abandoned them and they've experienced abandonment, but often the real pain comes in when we join all those abandoners and abandon ourselves. That's when it becomes really traumatic and very difficult to manage those unhealthy and difficult, painful feelings. I hope you'll sign up for the free training below. Doesn't cost you anything. 84 minutes. I think you can learn a lot. There's also an online program that I really think you would benefit from. Take a look at the testimonies. No testimony has ever been paid for or demanded or asked. People are offering those testimonies. I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe to this video, to this channel. I want to thank you for joining me. Have a great day and be wise.